Hey guys, it's Pastor Bruce. Today we begin Paul's third and final pastoral epistle, though it's second in chronological order. His letter to Titus was probably written after Paul had been released from his first Roman imprisonment, sometime around 63 AD. Titus was a young pastor who had been working with Paul for some time. In verse 4 of this first chapter, Paul refers to Titus as a true son in our common faith, leading many scholars to believe that it was Paul himself who led Titus to a saving knowledge of Jesus Christ. We first meet Titus in Scripture in Galatians chapter 2, verses 1 through 3, when Paul had Titus accompany him from Antioch to Jerusalem to discuss their mission to the Gentiles with the apostles and church leaders. Later, Paul sent Titus to Corinth to assist them in the collection for the church at Jerusalem, and then again later to help the Corinthians with other problems that had arisen. Titus seems to have been very successful on both counts. At some point, Paul and Titus went to the island of Crete to preach the gospel and to plant churches. Paul may have only stayed for a short time, but he left Titus there to continue the work. Titus's tasks were to appoint elders, to combat false teaching, to bring order to the churches, and to prepare for his own replacement. Here in chapter 1, Paul gives instructions for selecting bishops or overseers. They could also be called elders or pastors. And you'll note in this list of requirements that they very much resemble what Paul had written in 1 Timothy chapter 3. Paul also makes some remarks about the false teachers here. And based on those, we can derive that this false teaching was some variation of the Judaizing we've seen before. Those who said that the Gentiles had to become Jewish before they could become Christians. Paul writes in verse 13, "Therefore rebuke them sharply that they may be sound in the faith, not giving heed to Jewish fables and commandments of men who turn from the truth." In other words, he was telling Titus, you may have to take a strong hand with these people on Crete so that you can lead them away from the false teaching. We may call it tough love in our world today, but nonetheless, it is love. God bless you as you go.